It is that time again, people, where we are coming up against our, I'd say, rivals or enemies or team we love to hate, the Melbourne Storm. And it's been a 9 or 10 year drought, and we're hoping, or some of us are hoping, some of us fully believe that we're going to get the dub. And I've got a good feeling as well that it's time now to break the drought against the Storm. And let's go and get it up this Saturday night. Hey guys, if you are here for the first time, please give us a like and subscribe to Wires Up TV for all your New Zealand Warriors content. We do appreciate it. Now, for me, guys, this game is really important. This is kind of a moment in time where we can make a statement. We can solidify everything that we've been trying to achieve in the past year and a half under Webby, and really start to make some progress in terms of a mental edge over some of these top teams. Now, if I track back to the game against Penrith, that felt like the quintessential game where we had an undermanned squad and we beat the Penrith Panthers. Now, that's not new or foreign for a Warriors fan. Those that have been following the team for a long time, whenever we've been the underdogs, we produce some of the greatest moments. And that was, by far one of the best moments in Warriors history. To see that team perform and get the result in Magic Round was absolutely amazing. But in our club's history, we have struggled to deal with when we have a high expectation of ourselves playing at home against, again, a sold-out crowd, when that expectation is high, to deliver the goods. Now, I'm not going to say that hasn't been the case under Webby, but if you track your mind back to last season, the game against the Brisbane Broncos in Napier wasn't at Mount Smart, but still had a lot of hype to it. There was a kind of an origin depleted Broncos squad. Souths last year, when everything was going really well, we couldn't get over the top of them. Penrith in the finals, the first round, although we weren't expected to win that, but just some of those key matchups in big moments we haven't delivered. But in saying that, this is the greatest point in time, I think, for this club and this squad, where everything is starting to gel and they're coming into some form, that this will be the perfect moment to go and beat the Storm. Now, if we track back to the start of the season, where we had them in the bag, we were 8 points up with, 4 or 5 minutes to go. They scored 2 tries in maybe 2 or 3 minutes, and that hoodoo is still lingering. That mental edge that Melbourne has over us for all of those Anzac matches and other matchups is still there. The hoodoo since probably 2014, but really it's since that 2011 breakthrough to the grand final. That's pretty much the last time I really feel as though we kind of had the Storm in our hands. And even track back, that 2008 right through to that 2011, both finals games where we had Melbourne. And, it's been embarrassing at times. We can think back to the 72 or whatever it was, 6 last year, 2022. That was, horrible. I don't even want to bring that up. It might bring some PTSD up for a lot of us. But there's been other moments, again, this year, the nail biter, where we had in the bag, and we've had those moments too. We've been absolutely beaten off the park, and it's embarrassing. And there are moments when we should have won as well. And it's just, we need to overcome that. And especially against someone like the Storm, to get a win over them would do wonders for that tick in the box. And obviously Webby City, but also the mental tick in the box for the players, knowing, hey, we don't have to worry about that. That's not in the back of the mind anymore. We can progress and move forward. And know that maybe if we meet the Storm again in a finals matchup, there's that confidence there. That's what I'm thinking anyway. But just breaking down the team list, obviously CHT moves out of the 6, Tamaiti drops into the 6, and Sean to the 7. Now, I know a lot of talk has been around CHT is the better fit. I understand that. I can see why that may be. But my ultimate thinking behind this is that Sean and Tamaiti have that experience. They should be able to figure this thing out. If you actually look at the system itself, if you looked at Tamaiti's game against the Cowboys on Saturday, CHT didn't get a lot of touches. I think the role itself as a 6 in this system isn't a massive decision maker at times. Although I think Tamaire has been more well balanced in terms of attacking both right and left, I think that's still been Tamaire initiating it. But I think amongst the three of them, CHT and Tamaire and even CNK, there was a bit of balance. I felt, but both halves had equal share of the opportunities, and that the attacking sets were equally balanced to left and right. So, my thought process is that Sean coming back in, he will naturally get more of the touches, because really the system it's the lock position, which is obviously Tohu and Dylan, that initiates a lot of that first read, where you have your lead runner off of Tohu or Dylan, and then it goes to the half, who then makes a read after that. And then, so it's kind of first option lock, second option half, and then third option the 5-8. And by that time, depending on how many inroads or how effective we've been in reading our keys in terms of dragging defenders in, determines what type of ball the 5-8 usually gets. So now in previous weeks when Sean was playing, the 5-8 was literally getting nothing, because we weren't making any real inroads earlier in the read or in the shape, in terms of our forwards weren't attracting defenders. Our back rowers weren't really timing the runs and hitting with venom. So what I'm saying is that I think now that the team's starting to gel, I think everyone's starting to get some fluency, things are starting to work better, that everything should sort of flow and be in time, and hopefully that will then allow those decision makers to make better decisions and work more effectively. That's my thoughts behind it. And I think ultimately, if we track our minds back to Mighty and Sean, the start of the season last year, that seemed to work quite well. I feel Tamaire has gained a lot from this experience running the team. You can tell he's got that confidence. If you saw the game against the Cowboys, he looked really calm. I feel as though the game had slowed down for him. He knew exactly what he wanted to do. And I'm hoping that confidence drags into his role as a 5/8. But ultimately, I think, like again, I talked about the system, Sean will be initiating a lot of the attack. But hopefully what we're seeing now, and what Tamaire, CHT, CNK, Dylan Walker have all shown, is that you don't just have to send one shape left and then send it back right. You can set it up in the middle, or you can set it up to the right and work it left. You can attack any part of the field. There doesn't have to be a preference. And so that's the mindset that we should have. We should have a mindset that we attack every side of the field equally, because that's what keeps defenses guessing. That's what keeps saves us from being predictable. And that's ultimately whether Sean was the reason why we were predictable. It doesn't matter. It was that the whole attack and the way we were playing was predictable as a team. Now I think we're a bit more well balanced, that we can keep teams guessing, and hopefully that will cause a result. But yeah, apart from that, I'm really happy with things. I think Tohu starting, for me personally, I love Dylan Walker starting. I think he brings so much energy, his line speed and his attack, all those little things, that it's nice to have Tohu come off the bench. I understand he's the captain, and I understand Webby's reasoning for it. I hope to just see him play a bit more fresh to start with. But ultimately, those two, Dylan Walker and Tohu, we need both of them healthy. We just need them to be able to get through the season. We obviously need to have who's the most effective at what time on the field. For me personally, it's Dylan to start. But as long as it works, and I know Webby, he's made changes already. If it doesn't work with Tohu starting, I'm sure, no doubt, he has no problem changing it back. But for the ultimate goal, those two, if they can stay as healthy as possible to get to the finish line and be ready for, obviously winning games to progress further up the ladder, but ultimately to get into a final series, that's what we want. So yeah, that is what it is. It could change, we never know. But that's my thoughts around that. CHT, back to that utility role, I think it's ultimately a really good move. And again, it's kind of predicated on the idea that Egan plays long minutes. Now, if Egan does have an injury, if you remember a game maybe last year, I can't remember who it was, but maybe Egan started and he got injured within the 20th minute, and then Sirenen came on for about 56 to 60 minutes. I can't remember. I think we might have won the game, but it felt like the attack was just disjointed. Maybe if that is the case, that's what you could expect from CHT starting. But ultimately, he's bringing those other options available: backline cover, halves cover, very sound defensively on an edge. Just something that Lusick isn't used to. He's definitely more used to working in the middles. So it's kind of that catch-22 where hopefully Egan can play that 60 to 65 minutes and then CHT can fill in for 15. Or, say Egan plays for 80 and one of our backs get injured, CHT can slot in and help cover that role. So I think that just that versatility provides a lot. And then Dills and Jazz and Capewell. Yeah, I think Jazz has been fantastic. Capewell, I think he was a little bit sluggish last week. I think he got into the game, but I think just some more reps for him. I feel for him, he hasn't had a full kind of run of consistent games. I think that's the most important thing, is just get him consistent game time and things will kind of work themselves out. To the back line, I thought CNK was amazing last week, and I think he'll go well this week. But Pompey, I would assume actually Pompey will continue the goal kicking. I'll be interested to see that, but I think he's been doing a good job. He's in a bit of a flow. I'd keep him there right now. Montoya, since coming back from Cup, he's been absolutely awesome. And his bomb defusals, defensive reads, everything, he's been really tidy in. And likewise, Berry was, great in his one-on-ones last week. Scored 2 tries. He's building in confidence and ability. And Dallin, just again, we know what he brings to our game. So for me, ultimately, talking quickly about the Storm, they are, for me, they're like a team with 1,000 lives. For their first initial run of games, it's almost like the first 8 or 9 games, they were all nail biters, and they somehow found a way to win. And I felt as though that they're going to run out of those opportunities. And I think they dropped 1 or 2 games in a close fashion, but it seems as though they're back on the bandwagon and have found renewed energy with Fa'alongo at the back and a really good backline that seems to find a way, even with players like Meany, who's traditionally a fullback. He's been playing well at centre. Coates, we know what he's been doing. He's having career best form. And so they're just a team that, again, always finds a way if you give them an opportunity. And it seems as though teams can't really close them out for whatever reason. And they find a way. Jerome Hughes, for me, has been career best form. And yeah, even without Munster, they've got the right balance and still scoring a ton of tries. Just tells you how threatening they are. And Harry Grant, we obviously know what he brings. Their forward pack, Tui and King, they're toilers. They're not, massive, stepping type guys. They're effective at what they do, and they do a job. Ali Katoa has been absolutely awesome on the edge, and that's a great opportunity, I suppose, for him to come and prove a point. No doubt all the ex-Warriors players love to, but Ali's been in really good form. And Loiero, again, just a taller grafter type, but again, these forwards can match it physically. I thought if you look at the Cowboys game, they didn't match up well with us. I think these guys will probably match up a bit more with us, but at the same time, I think our forward pack has just too much speed, elusiveness, footwork. Sorry, that was a word I was missing before. Footwork, all those things that they should struggle to deal with us if we're doing everything right. So that's my thoughts around it anyway. But the bench is good. I mean, Nas, we just know what he brings, and he's a scary dude. But physically, we should hopefully be able to deal with them. But their whole team is great, and it's under the tutelage of great Craig Bellamy, and we know him as a coach, 6-time winner. And just every year, this team is just consistent and find a way. So if anything, this is more of an opportunity for Webby to get another tick in the box. You got one over Cleary, He's got multiple wins over different coaches, but Bellamy is at the top tier and always finds a way to get his teams fired up and to do a job. Now, in saying that, I think Webby is just as equal in terms of he should be able to get a result out of his boys. The changes he's made off of that 4-game losing streak, and to come into this run of last 3 or 4 weeks where these boys are up for it, I just feel that he's got a good read on this team. I think he's got a good read on his boys and will get them right. And I thought, especially last week, Webby's interchanges were really smart. I think he went with almost 3 changes in 1 hit. Probably the first time I've seen him do that, but it was smart in the sense that those guys that came on, I think it was Jazz, Capewell, and someone else, Tohu, I think, and it was just effective. And so I'm seeing little things that I believe Webby will get the balance right. Again, this will be kind of a chess match between 2 coaches, who brings on when, when will be the right time to make the move. But I'm confident Webby will make the changes at the right time. I think ultimately, on paper, we have the fair share of talent, but they have some really X-factor players. Grant just changes things. Hughes, again, like I said, Fa'alongo, the speed that this guy plays with. Xavier Coates, you put a kick up for him, he'll more likely than not score. So it's one of those games to really kind of don't let it get out of your hands, and don't ever think, similar to the game at the start of the season, don't ever think you've won the game until that whistle blows, because these guys will just, they've got that belief in themselves that they will find a way to win, and that's scary. A team that believes is a team that's a threat and to be worried about. But ultimately, I go back to that point that this is a moment in time for us to make a statement as a club. At home, sold out crowd. Can we live with the expectation, and not say it's more of an expectation from within the fan base? I think most teams would, NRL punters and betting organizations would probably favor more to the Storm, because they're at the top of the table. They're at the top, and we're in 10th or 11th, although we're on a run. But amongst ourselves, as me as a fan, when I'm watching the Storm and watching our team and how we're progressing, I expect my team to win. I expect us to put out a performance and beat the Storm. Sometimes I even think comfortably. But for me, it's at least 1 to 12. But that's the thing. We have to live up to expectations. Those games that we've had at home against the top teams, we haven't quite nailed it. We haven't quite finished the job. So for me, this is the time to do it. This is the opportunity that we have as a team, the club, the players, the club, but us as fans. We want to see us break this drought. We really want to see us get the job done. And then that will be the solidifier to what we're trying to achieve this year. And for me, it sets up everything moving forward in terms of mentally, how we approach our games and how we're treated. If we get this one, we can genuinely see ourselves progressing towards a top 8 or a top 6 in time, with saying, other teams dropping games while we're progressing. But massive game, can't wait to watch it. Guys, that's my thoughts off the top of the dome. Just things I've been thinking about. Hopefully it comes to fruition, that our attack and defense, to hold the Cowboys to 12, I would love to expect something similar. I think the Storm are just a little bit more. It will be kind of a wet conditions. We love the dry track. We do struggle with conditions that aren't ideal, so that might change the game and the momentum. It may not be there. So expect a tight one, but I believe in the boys. I believe it's time. For me personally, I believe it's time. And I feel the feel-good factor about what's happening, that we're on the way up. We've kind of hit our lull, and that Penrith game, we're starting to work our way back up. And I feel that's happening. So we'll see where you guys go. Enjoy the rest of your week. We are over the hill and on our way down. So enjoy the rest of the week, guys. Enjoy the game on Saturday, and up the wires. Stay safe. Peace.